This is the new Samsung Watch 7. This is the Samsung Watch 5. Not that much difference, right? You'd be hard-pressed to tell them apart. Is it worth upgrading from the Watch 5 to the Watch 7, or even the Watch 6 to the Watch 7? I'm going to discuss the changes of all the recent Samsung watches and discuss which option might be best for you. Let me start with talking about what changed from the Watch 5 to the Watch 6, which are both still good watches. Full disclosure, I did not buy the regular Watch 6, and I bought the Watch 6 Classic instead to get that rotating bezel, but I'll get into that in a few minutes. So the Watch 5 and the Watch 6 both come in two sizes, either 40mm or 44mm. The Watch 6 got a very slight battery bump. It has slightly thinner bezels, which gives it a slightly bigger screen, obviously, and the larger version goes from a 1.4-inch screen to 1.5, and the smaller watch version goes from the 1.2 inches to 1.3-inch screen. The Watch 6 gets, of course, a new processor. It gets an increase to 2GB of RAM from the 1.5GB. The brightness is increased from 1000 nits to 2000 nits, which is significant, but the Watch 5 is still very visible in almost all lighting situations, except it's a little tougher to read in direct sunlight. And the Watch 6 brought in a new quick-release band. So the quick-release band, that you just push the button here, and then you're able to take out the band very easily, and then just put it back in instead of having to deal with these pins, if you can see them. But the Watch 5, 6, and 7, you can use any standard 20mm band. So what changed from the Watch 6 to the Watch 7? Well, it got double the storage, so went from 16GB to 32GB, and that's great if you like to put a lot of music on the watch. Otherwise, you probably won't notice much of a difference there. Again, it got an upgraded processor. It got a new upgraded dual-band GPS, which should make location tracking a little more accurate, but probably not a big improvement if you normally do a lot of running and biking in open areas. You'd notice this improvement most if you had a lot of tall buildings or trees around you, which might interfere with the GPS signal. The Watch 7 adds an energy score, an AGE index, which is the advanced glycation end product, which is supposed to be a metric of reflect your overall biological aging process, but it didn't give me all that much data, which I'll show you when I do the full review. It is also now able to detect sleep apnea. Not sure if all those features will work their way down to the Watch 5 and 6. If any of those features are important to you and you're considering upgrading because of those features, I'd maybe wait just a few months just to see if Samsung does bring those features to the older watches before you upgrade. So give Samsung a few months on that. But the Watch 6 and 7 have the same screen size, same battery size, and same charging speeds. So going from the Watch 6 to the Watch 7, you actually lose a feature. You lose wireless power share, so you can no longer wirelessly charge your watch on your phone. Now, what about the Watch 7 Ultra? Well, I'm glad you asked. I was actually planning on buying this, and I was all set to buy it. But then I actually looked at all the specs and the features and looked at the price and the design of it and just made a decision that the Watch 7 was a better fit for me. So surprisingly, the Watch 7 Ultra and the Watch 7 have mostly the same internals. They have the same display size, the same RAM, the same storage, chip, and sensors. So then what's different? What are you paying extra for? Well, you get a titanium case. It's almost double the weight, and it is thicker. It goes from 2000 nits to 3000 nits of brightness, which I think 2000 is plenty. So you get a couple extra features. You get a multi-sports mode, and you also get the ability to measure the functional threshold power quicker, but that is only used for cyclists. And the Watch 7 can do that, but it does take longer. The Watch 7 Ultra also features an 85 decibel emergency siren, and the Watch 7 Ultra also has a 590 milliamp battery, and Samsung says the watch can last for 60 hours in normal mode, up to 80 hours with the always-on display off, and there is also a power-saving mode that will give you 100 hours. So, the regular Watch 7s, Samsung says that you should expect up to 30 hours of battery life with the always-on display on, and up to 40 hours with the always-on display off. There is a disadvantage with the Watch 7 Ultra, and that is that it uses a proprietary band, so you cannot use any standard bands on it, and that might make it a little harder to get third-party replacement bands, and of course they might be more expensive. So I think for most people, the regular Watch 7 is a better fit, better value, and it's roughly half the price. These are the people I think would probably want the Ultra and should consider buying the Ultra. The first group of people is just, if you have to have the latest and greatest and cost is no concern, then get the Watch 7 Ultra. If you love the look of the Ultra, it is definitely bulkier and thicker and very distinctive, but if you like the look, then obviously you need to get the Ultra. If you're an extreme athlete and you need a watch that is made out of a titanium shell and rated for 10 atmospheres, well, ask yourself, is that really you? Well, if it is, then you need the Watch Ultra. And the fourth group of people is, you're just looking at the Watch 7 Ultra because you want to get the extra battery life. Well, if that is you, I recommend maybe looking into... So this is the Watch 7 over here, and this is the Watch 5 Pro. The Watch 5 Pro actually has the same battery size as the Watch 7 Ultra, 590 milliamp hours, and the Watch 5 Pro is rated for 80 hours of battery life, so basically similar to the Watch 7 Ultra. And it's still a great design, a little thicker than the regular Watch 7, but still a great design, very comfortable. So the Watch 5 Pro does not have the physical rotating bezel. You get the digital bezel just like on all the other watches. But this one does have a little ridge, so it does make it, I feel like, a little easier to access the digital bezel because it kind of guides you on it and keeps you from sliding off like you would on the 7 over here. So the Watch 5 Pro has been out for 2 years, so you could probably get some better deals on it, but you're going to get some less software updates on that. But you should still get another 2 years left of software life on this. If you're not married to getting a Samsung watch, but you do want the longer battery life, and you want to stay in the WearOS ecosystem, well then consider getting the OnePlus Watch 2, which is over here. I did a full review on this watch and I'll leave it in the description, but this watch gives you a solid 4 days of battery life and up to 12 days in battery save mode. I usually get about 10, but it says up to 12. But the power save mode, unlike other watches, is actually useful and it does give you access to most of the features of the watch. It looks like Samsung has gotten rid of the physical rotating bezel and it may not be coming back. But if you desperately need the physical rotating bezel of the Samsung watches, then you need to look at the Watch 6 Classic, which is still being sold by Samsung. And I have reviews on the Watch 6 Classic, and I also compare it directly with the Watch 5 Pro so you can see the pros and cons of each of those. I'll leave all those videos in the description if you're interested. But if you have the regular Samsung Watch 5 or 6, I don't see a big compelling reason to go to the Watch 7 unless you're very interested in some of those features that they added. If your watch is getting a little old or scratched or the battery is decreasing and you can get a good trade-in deal, then it might be worth it. But otherwise, I'd probably say keep the Watch 5 or 6 and see what happens on the Watch 8. Subscribe and stay tuned for more videos on the Watch 7. I'm going to do a full review and I'll show you all the tips and tricks and new features of the watch. Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next video.